entries to the room. The virtual room, I leave the back door open so you can enter and exit as you wish. But I hope that once you commit to the class that you give yourself the space to start and go all the way through to a Shavasana. And really the only question becomes how long you want to spend in your Shavasana at the end of the class. It might be short, it might be, you know, really lovely, delicious 7 or 8, 9, 10 minutes even. Even if you go to sleep, that's okay. So we just tiptoed over the 10:30 mark. We're about ready to get started. One or two of you still adjusting your cameras, but everybody else, if we come to a seated pose and allow your hips to just connect into the ground. So we use this beginning part just to get pretty much centered and find our present moment. It's where we leave the outside world somewhere else. So straighten through your neutral spine and reach up through the crown of your head and let your shoulders go a little bit soft. And we're going to use a 4-4 breath. I'm just wondering if that music interferes with or adds to, I don't know, maybe let me know in the comments or by email afterwards. If the music ever bothers you guys, just let me know. So we're going to do a 4-4 breath. We'll do 4 counts of 4-4. So we'll inhale for 4 and exhale for 4 together. And we'll use it to transition into the present moment. So breathe normally and allow your lungs to just empty. And then inhale with me for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. We're breathing through the nose. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale through the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Twice more together. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale softly. 4, 3, 2, 1. We're building the cadence. One more together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue to breathe with a natural cadence, but use this to come into your breath consciously. Maybe you can begin to start moving each deep breath a little deeper to your belly. Too many of us breathe off the top of our lungs, taking those short, shallow sniffs through the nose or even the mouth. I'd like you to cultivate a deeper, fuller, more meaningful breath. Almost meditative. You'll find this even helps when you run, if you run. Good. Gently place your right hand on your heart so you can feel your heart energy, and your left hand on your abdomen so you can feel your breath as you inhale and exhale slowly, and we'll set our intention for the practice together. May this practice heal and strengthen your body and your mind. May this practice heal and strengthen your body and your mind. Good. Keeping that gentle flow of breath, we'll come to a standing forward fold. So if you imagine you just finished a run, quite possibly, the muscles through your posterior chain all nice and stiff and contracted, and we're just going to give it a chance to open up. Your feet can be hips distance apart, and you'll wind forward from the hips, noticing any stiffness in your back. Maybe you can relax your hands onto the floor or towards the floor. And allow the back line to open up all the way from your heels. Imagine if you had tiny little hands, warm hands, massaging the back of your Achilles tendon, moving up through the back of your calves, loosening through the back of your hamstrings, relaxing all the way through the 3 layers of the glute muscles. That's the butt cheek. And then softening through your low back, all the way up through the muscles at either side of the spine, through the middle back and the high back. Maybe softening your shoulders, the back of your neck, around the back of your head. And feel the crown of your head sink a little lower towards the ground. Bend your knees as much as you need to be comfortable. Don't feel some sort of pressure to straighten through your legs and get a hamstring stretch. That's your choice. If you wish to do that, you can, but I recommend you bend your knees and rest your rib cage towards your thighs. This will soften out through your low back. Straightening up through the hamstrings only adds pressure to the low back. Now, you may be comfortable with your hands on the floor,
but perhaps you can place your right hand on your left bicep, and then just take your left hand and tuck it on the inside of your right elbow. This gives you a nice little arm lock, so you can really release down into your forward fold. And you're doing two things now. You're expanding and lengthening through the posterior chain, something we rarely do. And you're also beginning to decompress through the spinal joints. So each and every one of your vertebrae, the spinal bones, these little chunks, gets a little stretch here rather than being compressed. When we run, we compress and compress into the spine, the vertical. And taking a forward fold means that we can decompress a little. And maybe it feels good to hang here just stationary, or maybe you wish to take a subtle swish towards the left side and a subtle swish towards the right side. And notice how this begins to open up through your low back, the deeper core muscles. And many of you have been to the runners class, you know exactly what's coming. So your body can gently open up. I have inserted one extra pose to today's sequence. It's called Skandasana. It's a side pose. I'll tell you about that when we get to it. Don't worry about it. It's just one extra pose, and there are modifications. Good. From here, release your hands down to the ground, and go ahead and step your left foot towards the back of your mat, and come into a pyramid pose. So both your legs are straight, or as straight as your legs will allow. Your front knee might be a little bent, and you're looking to stretch through the right hamstring. Good. Your breath is still long and slow, and you're going to use an exhale to bend both knees and soften your left knee onto the ground and reach your heart forward. Now breathe in. And exhale, straighten both legs. Come back to pyramid pose. Stretch through the front right hamstring and calf. Good. Inhale, this time soften your left knee to the ground and maybe begin to float both hands up towards the sky if that's comfortable. If it's not, keep the hands on the ground. Good. One more time. As you exhale, come back to your pyramid pose, straightening through both legs. Yeah, I'm starting to remove some of those fascial adhesions where the fascia starts to get a bit stiff overnight. Then gently soften your left knee onto the ground. And this time, see if you can, maybe you did it before, lift both your hands a little higher, lift your heart just a little higher. So the target area for this stretch is the big muscles at the front of your left hip. So hopefully you'll be stretching the big quadricep muscle, it's called rectus femoris if you're interested, but that big muscle across the front of your left hip. Get a big stretch here. Maybe you can lift your heart, soften your shoulders. If your knee hurts at all, fold over your mat or try and come forward a little deeper if your physiology allows. If your physiology doesn't allow any of these poses, then soften. So I'm quite deep in this one. You may find that you try this and it's a bit much, so you come out a little bit. You may find that your knee hurts, so you roll over your mat to alleviate the pressure just a little bit. The more you listen to your body and modify your practice, the better your practice is for you. Good. So we stretch through the front left hip. Let's come through the outer left hip. So walk your feet back towards each other. So you've got more or less 90 degrees in each of the knees. And place your right hand on your right thigh. And go ahead and inhale your left elbow up and over your left shoulder to get a nice big stretch through your left torso, but also through the outer left hip. Try not to push the hip out. Try and keep the left hip directly over the left knee and achieve the stretch by reaching the left hand up and over the right side. Now, it's quite possible you might try and go too deep. If you do, ease out a little. Ease out a little bit. If you go too deep and something doesn't feel right, ask yourself the question, why did you go so deep? Come to a comfortable point where you can feel the target area, the outer left hip and the left rib cage, are getting a nice healthy stretch, a positive stress through the muscles, maybe deeper into the tendons. Good, one more breath here. And as you exhale, come on up and place both of your hands on your thigh. What we're doing is we're taking a stretch from the left side of the body back to the front left hip and going deeper. So one muscle layer deeper into the psoas muscles. Now this muscle, deeper hip flexor, inserts into the base of your spine. So we've got to roll the hips to arch the spine out backwards as much as your physiology allows. Some of us get a nice big curve.
Some of us get a shallow curve like me, but we're moving the frontal hip joints forward, upwards and forwards to press the spine backwards and take this deeper muscle and take the insertion point at the base of the spine and press back. You can push through your hands, sometimes reaching the crown of the head forward and arching out through the shoulder blades can extenuate this just a little bit. And whilst you look for the signals in your body that tell you this stretch has gone deeper into your left hip flexor and at a comfortable rate, I'd like you to observe your own breath. It's the physiology of the breath means that we relax the diaphragm. That's the biggest breathing muscle we have. We relax the diaphragm to breathe out. So the whole body is coded to relax when we breathe out. So short, shallow breaths, hard to relax. Long, soft, conscious breaths where you know the exhale, easy to relax. Good, let's release this stretch now and come into the inner right thigh, pectineus muscle. So place both your hands in line with your right foot, so your right shoulder's just on the inside of your right knee. Many of you will know this stretch from the class. Go ahead and walk your hands forwards. Many of you, I notice your elbows will touch the ground. You'll notice mine don't, and it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're getting your stretch on the inner right thigh. Inner right thigh, as you walk your right shoulder somewhere down the inside of your right shin. And if your body says this is too much, there can be two reasons for that. Number one, maybe you've gone too deep. And number two, your body has primal defense mechanisms. They're called stretch reflexes. And what they're doing, especially with the inner groin, is to say, nah, you cannot stretch this part of the body. You might damage my ability to procreate. So my body here will be saying, no, we want to protect Chris's DNA line. We'll stop you going too deep. But the stretch reflex is stopping me from accidental damage. I'm fully in control here. So you can afford to wait for the stretch reflex to soften a little. Maybe you go a little deeper. There are hacks for this. You may have heard of PNF stretching, reciprocal inhibition, all sorts. All you need to do really is wait a little longer and make sure you're comfortable. Good. From here, we're going to exhale and come back to pyramid and use it to come into that pose that we've added. So straighten through both your legs and come back into pyramid pose. Come back into pyramid pose like before. And once you've got to pyramid pose, you're going to rotate through 90 degrees to the left edge of the mat and come into a wide-legged forward fold. Into a wide-legged forward fold. And then walk your hands down your thighs, the outside of your knees, your calves, and use that to draw your forehead towards the ground and then the crown of your head towards the ground. Maybe the crown of your head touches, maybe it doesn't, don't worry. If the crown of your head does touch, make sure you walk your feet a bit closer together because then you'll get proper stretch. And you'll begin to come into what's called runner's relief. So you're now stretching the inner thighs and the hamstrings and the calves and the Achilles and your low back and your middle back. Pretty good, right? I'd like you to let the breath leave your body and then inhale to stand up with your feet still nice and wide and reach your hands up towards the ground, up towards the sky. So in star pose, this is called. And we come into this new posture, Skandasana, also known as side lunge. And all we're going to do is from side lunge. So you've got two straight legs, star pose. Your arms are pressing straight up towards the sky. It's not warrior two, it's star pose. Good. And from here, all you're going to do is exhale to bend your left knee and sweep your arms right, as deep as your physiology will allow you. So take a breath in and exhale, bend your left knee. You're coming into Skandasana. Now, some of you may stop here, and that's deep enough. Some of you may come deeper or deeper or deeper, and eventually towards the ground. If you do come towards the ground, I'd like you to use your hands to support the floor away from you, so you're not overloading your inner thighs. And use your left elbow, if you can, to push your left knee out a bit. And here's the reason for being here. I want you to draw your right toes in towards your right hip so you can get a good stretch through your right Achilles, right calf, and right hamstring. And you'll get a secondary stretch through the inner left thigh. Now, if this is all a bit much because we haven't done these before, then just modify as much as you wish to. I saw a runner this morning. She stopped and stretched, and she was up here. And that was right for her. That's about as far as she was going to go. I'm using this to go all the way into a yoga pose. I'd like you to choose what's right for you. One more breath here.
And then we'll exhale, come back to that pyramid pose. Right foot's out in front. Press both your hands into the ground and just step your right foot back. You can stop at downward facing dog just for positioning if you like, but you're going to float your right leg up and over the back of your left leg and push the ball of your right foot into the bottom left corner of your mat. And the target area here, the stretch area, is the right Achilles tendon. So we do this a lot in the class, in the studio. And if you remember from that class, you can gauge how much stretch you position in your Achilles by gearing in and out weight through the ball of your left foot. So for some of us, the left foot can float up off the floor and we can press the right heel onto the floor. For some of us, we need to put more weight through the left foot and graduate how much stretch we put through the target area, the right Achilles tendon and right calf muscles. Gastrocnemius, soleus muscle, making up the calf muscles, getting a really nice stretch here, having been opened by that Skandasana. One more breath. Nice, and then gently float back to your downward facing dog. Now I'm going to turn around and orientate the other way, just so this all sort of figures, but you'll still point to the top of your mat. Good. From here, you're just going to lift up your left leg towards the sky, periodic or momentarily, just coming into three-legged dog, and then exhale, draw your left knee towards your chest and push the ground away and step your left foot forward. Nice, so you should be left foot at the top of the mat now. Exhale, draw your right knee to the ground and just get a gentle early stretch through the right side of your hips. The right side of your hips, you should feel it in the right side of your hips. You can lift your heart a little bit, find some length, hips a bit close to the ground if it's comfortable. And then exhale, come into a pyramid pose. So now get an early stretch through your left leg, just like before when we started. Good, inhale, drop your right knee and press your heart forward. If you're ready, you can begin to float your hands up to the sky. If it's not quite there for you yet, just keep your hands on the floor and just open through your hips. Good, then exhale, bring the hands to the ground again if you lifted them and straighten through both legs back into your pyramid pose. Maybe you float your toes a little closer to your chin. Maybe you can sink your left shoulder a little closer to your left knee. Maybe you can straighten your left knee a little more. It doesn't matter what variation you come into. You could be here like this. You could be here like this. So I'm really bending my left knee now, and I'm nowhere near my left knee. But maybe that's where your extent is, and that's where I want you to come to. I don't want you to try and get deep like this if your body isn't ready for it, because there's no point. All you'll do is injure yourself. I want you to come to the point where you can gently stress the back of your leg. Good. Inhale, drop your right knee to the ground. And this time we'll try both hands up towards the sky. And we'll stay here for a little bit longer so we can get that nice big stretch through the right hip flexor. You should feel this. Remember, you can modify any way you want to. If you want to roll your mat over and put a cushion under your right knee so it's just not hurting. Some of us struggle sometimes. I'm not sure why that would help. Always, if your body says anything to you, then you should listen to it. You really should. If it says, ow, this twinges, then listen to it. It's another reason why we never, ever take painkillers before doing yoga, unless specifically told to by a doctor, because painkillers shut down the body's messages. Good, so we stretch through the front right hip. See if you can bring your knees to more or less 90 degrees so we can come through the outer right hip this time and place your left hand on your right thigh. And try not to drop forward in this one. So lift your chest high and then inhale your right hand up and over. So your right elbow floats across the top of your right shoulder. You're not dropping forward. This is a sagittal plane, right? This is where we lose that. I want you to imagine you've got a piece of glass in front of you, thin piece of glass. And if you press it too hard, it's going to snap. And what you'd rather do is just glide next to this piece of glass and lift the right elbow high enough so you can get a comfortable and positive stretch through the right side of your torso and the right hip. Try not to push the hip out to the right. Just lift the right elbow a little higher. Keep the balance through the knee. Keep the breath work working. Remember, your exhale is a coded message to the whole body to relax a little deeper. Stop freaking out. Get present. Good on you. Gently float your right hand back down to your thigh, and we'll take that stretch into the inner right hip this time, so a layer deeper. So remember, it's those frontal hip joints that you're looking to lift up so that you can curve your spine backwards. It's called
kyphotic curve in the lumbar region. So we're pressing the low back outwards by lifting the frontal hip joints up. So anterior lift of the hips. And we can place our hands on the knee and reach the crown of the head forward. And see if we can feel for that stretch deeper inside the right hip, getting into the psoas and iliacus muscles. You'll notice there's always a pause when we wait here. Wait for a couple of breaths so the breath can assist in releasing the muscles. And the muscles get a chance to, oh yeah, it's safe to loosen here. The longer we leave the hole, the deeper it goes. So it can start moving into the tendons and through the fascia, into the ligaments even. But we're going to start with the muscles here. Good, and then release this posture and we'll come into the inner left thigh, so pectineus on the other side. So I see some of you doing it already. Reaching both hands, good, down to the mat to bring your hands in line with your left foot. So your left hand is inside your left foot and your left shoulder is inside your left knee. And then remember, it doesn't matter how deep you come, as long as you feel that comfortable extension through the inner left thigh. And if you remember to breathe, your body will soften from the inside out. It'll soften anyway when it feels safe, protected, loved, which is why it's important to listen to it. Amazing how many things feel more loved when we just listen. Our body is no exception to that. Good, one more long, gentle, my teacher used to call delicious breath right here. And then as you exhale, come into a comfortable pyramid pose. So straighten both legs as much as you comfortably can. So you can feel that stretch through the back of your left leg. So you're in pyramid pose. And now you're going to rotate over the right edge of your mat. So it looked like the same side for me because I'm orientating the other way, but you'll go the other side of your mat. So you're in a wide-legged forward fold, runners release. This time, instead of reaching your hands down your legs, I'd like you to intertwine your fingers behind your back if that's available to you, and then drop your head a little closer to the ground as much as you comfortably can, and then float your hands. Now you can hold onto a belt or a strap, or just have your hands separated if this is uncomfortable. But we're looking to encourage a stretch, not just through the hamstrings and calf muscles and Achilles tendon and inner thighs and low back in this pose like last time, but this time because the hands are joined behind the back, we're stretching through the heart space, the chest, the shoulders, the deltoids, allowing it all to open up. Now, of course, later on we'll use the floor-assisted stretches to open through the chest more, but we're just getting ready for it here. Good, then release your hands and inhale to come all the way up, back into star pose. Your left foot's at the front of the mat this time. Reach both hands up. It's almost like the Eiffel Tower, this one. So both legs are straight and you're facing over the right edge of your mat. Good, take a breath in. This time exhale to bend your right knee and swish your hands towards the top of the mat. Now, how deep you come, entirely up to you. But I'd like you to see if you can keep going until you point your left foot to the top of the mat, press your hands into the ground, and then use your right elbow to press your right knee out. And then draw your left heel back. So you're really stretching through the back of your left leg. So you can draw your left toes towards your hips, a bit like I am, if you can see that on the camera from where you are. So you're getting a really nice extension all the way from your left heel to your left sit bone, and all the muscles in between, your Achilles tendon, calves, back of your knee, hamstrings and glutes, get a really nice stretch here, right? You can feel that. One more breath. It's a new stretch, so listen to your body. Nice, and when you're ready, come back to your pyramid pose and step back into a downward facing dog and float your left foot over the back of your right foot. So you can begin to stretch through your left Achilles tendon. This is one of those ones where I modify a lot because I recently twisted my left ankle. So I'm keeping a lot of weight in my right foot, the supporting foot,
and gently easing a little bit more weight through my left heel. My left heel might float a little closer to the ground. Yours might touch the ground. Your right foot might lift up off the ground. I say might because you shouldn't try to make it. Just see where your body takes you to. And when it says, yeah, that's good, then you stop there. Don't look to lift your right foot off the floor if it's not comfortable. Don't look to press your left heel into the mat if it's not comfortable. Just do what's right. For one more long breath and use the whole exhale to really soften into this. Maybe a little bit more. Good, and then float your left foot back around and come into a downward facing dog. And gently melt both your knees onto the ground. We'll take a little rest here in child's pose. So widen your knees as much as your mat and let your big toes touch. And then begin to soften your hip bones back down over your heels. And maybe you walk your hands forward a little. You'll notice you're stretching through your heart space here. If you've got a block or a pillow or something you want to put your head on, you can, or maybe you rest your head onto the ground if that's comfortable. And once you arrive in child's pose, just let go a little. The ground's right here, your heart's super close to the earth. It's close enough to feel a little connection energetically with Mother Earth herself. You can allow your breath to gently absorb your awareness. Breathing in a little more slowly, breathing out a little more slowly, and allowing the exhale to relax all the muscles. It's just what we're wired to do. We breathe out, the muscles soften. And then they can lengthen more. All the time knowing that if anything doesn't feel right, you modify a little. You move, you twitch, you shift. The journey really comes when you recognize the difference between the monkey mind making you do stuff and your awareness of your body giving you the meaning for the movement. You twitch and scratch because your mind is restless? Or do you move and shift gently to respond to your body? Good, gently come onto your belly and we're going to stretch through the chest. I'm going to stretch through the chest muscles. I'm going to move around a little bit so it's easier for you to see what I'm trying to communicate. I'll move this way, so I'll be across my mat. But if you stay on the same orientation in your mat and come onto your chest, and we'll do the chest stretch. Many of you know this one. And we'll start with the right arm. So bring the right arm, the elbow needs to be as high as the shoulder. Try not to make it lower than. As high as, or maybe a bit higher, that's okay. And take your yogi hand and press the palm of your yogi hand into the earth. And then take your left hand and press it underneath your left shoulder and use it like a trolley jack to lift your left shoulder up and away from the ground, and your left hip can float up too. So getting this stretch through the right side of your shoulder. Now I'm going to have to do this weirdly because I'm crushing my mic pack and I don't want to lose my sound signal. But I need you to lift your left hip up and over your right hip as much as you comfortably can by pushing your left shoulder away from the ground. Remember, the target area in this pose is your right chest, primary target area. The secondary stretch will also come into your left hips, especially now that they're nice and open. This is the one where I can't see anybody because all I can see is a load of screens looking at the ceiling. And Paul's lovely dog assisting there. A couple more breaths here. This is that stretch that you can keep with you and do any time, right? And then when you're ready, use an exhale just to lower your left shoulder back onto the ground, your left thigh back onto the ground. We'll stretch through the back of the right shoulder this time. So still lying on your chest, position your arm, if you can see the camera or not, position your arm between the chest and the ground,
and then use your left arm a bit like a foot, like a pillow. So you're compressing your right arm between your chest and the ground to get a stretch through the outer right shoulder assembly, all the way through the right shoulder. So we just did the front of the right shoulder, the chest and the front of the right shoulder, anterior deltoid. And now we've just shifted the arm so that we're lying on the right arm and resting the head down on the left forearm. You've got it, Harry, nice one. Just letting the whole of the musculature, the rotator cuffs, muscles and tendons through the back of your shoulder blade to open slowly. A really nice array of muscles in there that hold the shoulder joint in place. The shoulder joint's got so much mobility, more range of mobility than any other joint in the body. And it achieves this by having quite shallow joint sockets. The glenoid fossa joint is quite a shallow ball and socket joint. And it relies on the muscles to hold everything in place. So they're quite used. Good idea to let them open sometimes, not too much. That can give us a tendency to dislocate our shoulder if we go too far. No risk of that here today, don't worry. Go gently release your right arm and just come onto your front and have a little rest. Allow yourself to absorb what's happening through your right shoulder. Maybe you can allow your awareness to just gently arrive in your right shoulder. Sometimes it helps to compare the right side with the left side so you can feel the difference. It's a subtle difference normally, but feeling the difference inside your body means that you're detached from those monkey mind thoughts, the ones that distract you. The mind is a powerful thing, it's a useful thing, but it's so overactive sometimes it distracts us from the deeper intelligence of the body. So getting ready to do the other side now, bring your left elbow out in line with your left shoulder and bend your left elbow through 90 degrees and make sure the elbow is about as high as the shoulder and press your palm into the ground. Now, if you find that this is too strong, the cheat, I shouldn't really tell you, but the cheat is to straighten out the left arm or the side that you're being stretched, but try and keep it through 90 degrees or achieve a deeper stretch. Then you use your right hand underneath your right shoulder, push your right shoulder away from the ground and lift your right hip off the floor, and your right leg can float over the top of your left leg. Maybe your right foot can settle onto the ground somewhere or onto something to rest onto. As you get that really nice stretch through the whole of your left pec major, pec minor, big chest muscles, and pressing down through the palm of the hand, noticing the finger pads of your left hand pressing onto the ground. So you have a connection there. And gently opening up through the anterior deltoid muscles, the front of your shoulder muscle. Your left cheek can rest on the ground or left forehead. And if you're noticing things about your floor that you didn't know before, just shut your eyes and go a little deeper inside your practice. It'll all be there later. Really nice. One more long breath in. Beautiful secondary stretch in the right hip. The left elbow is just wide of the left shoulder. Good. Then gently roll back onto the ground. So the right hip can lower back down again. Nice. I can't really see what you guys are doing, but I think we're okay, most of you, judging by what I can see. Take a little rest here. You stretched out through the front of your left chest muscle. And when you stretch those tissues, they sort of get squeezed dry. And when you rest, they reabsorb a bit of cellular juice. It's very healthy. Regenerates. And then when you're ready, we can do the opposite side. So you can draw your left arm in between your chest and the ground, sort of demonstrating using the camera. And rest your right arm on the ground and your forehead on your right forearm, if that makes any sense. So you're using your chest to clamp your left arm between your body and the ground so that you can open up through the outer left shoulder and all the musculature all the way through the whole outer side of your shoulder. Using gravity so that you don't have to do much work. One of my teachers likes to use the analogy wet noodle. When we come into these stretches, we try and act like a wet noodle. It's not a particularly positive turn of phrase, but it does indicate that you're trying to switch off as many muscles as possible and use gravity and the posture to go a little deeper into the stretch. Nice one. One more long breath. Feeling the exhale soften and release and let go. And then when you're ready, just before you get that tingling feeling in your left hand, you can release your left arm and just have a little rest. Just have a little rest. Have a little rest. And feel your body, both shoulders now. Softening into the ground holding you. Sometimes it's really nice to just tune into gravity itself. So the forces that hold your body to the ground, they exist and you can feel them. And you can consciously shift your awareness into gravity and feel where gravity is holding on the ground. Which parts of your body are connected with the earth right now? It's a very powerful way of becoming present in this moment. When you use these techniques, breathing and feeling gravity and being aware of your body, they're almost like grade A substitutes to meditation. Some people find it difficult to meditate, but when you use these techniques, you start to experience the same benefits as meditation. Being present, breathing, feeling gravity. Good, one more breath, just resting. And then slowly pick up your body off the ground and start to position your hands into the floor and find your way into your downward facing dog. So lift your hips up. That's it. We're just going to use this to transition into our twisted thigh stretch. So inhale to float your right leg quite high if you can. And then exhale, draw your right knee into your chest and push the ground away comfortably if you can. And then more importantly, step your right foot towards the top of the mat, however is comfortable. And soften your left knee onto the floor. If you needed to modify a lot coming into this pose, good on you. It's the name of the game. From here, reach your right hand forward. Now we've just opened up through the chest, so this should be easy. And we've worked on the hips, so this should be easier. Let the breath leave your body, and then inhale, sweep your right arm all the way around until your right fingertips reach towards the back of the mat. If it's available to you, you can bend your left knee and get a hold of your left foot. If it's not, stay with your stay with your left foot on the ground and your right hand just reaching backwards. Just blowing out my candle there before it explodes the oil burner, which has no water in it now. Maybe you can raise your right shoulder a little higher, and maybe you can soften your left hip a little deeper. If you raise your right shoulder, you'll open a bit more through the chest. And if you drop the left hip, you'll deepen the stretch through the hip flexor. But it's so important to do what feels comfortable. Good, then gently, if you're holding that left foot, you can let go of it now and bring your right hand all the way to the front. Remember the modifications for half pigeon. If you're used to a modification lying on your back, then take it now. Lie onto your back. Bend your left knee and place your right ankle on your left knee. Getting ready for half pigeon. If you're coming with me into this version of half pigeon, you can begin to walk your right foot towards your left wrist and soften your right knee with compassion somewhere behind your right wrist. Now you start to feel the stretch in your right hips here. Maybe you inhale your hands towards the sky to deepen the stretch through your left hip. Doesn't matter. See if you can exhale your hands forward and melt your heart down towards the ground and use the physiology to open up through your right bum cheek. If you're in the modification, you're lying on your back, your left knee is bent, your right ankle is on your left knee, and you maybe grab the back of your left thigh or shin and draw your left thigh in towards your body to deepen the stretch through your right glutes. Maybe you just relax into this, whatever feels good, right? As long as you can feel the stretch in the target area, that's your right bum cheek, those big glute muscles, the ones that we use to accelerate when we run or walk. That's what we're stretching. Your exhale can tell the whole body to soften. And just a little more. Got a couple more breaths right here. You have your own permission to enjoy this pose. That means modify as much as you wish to. Good, then when you're ready, inhale to walk your hands and lift your heart space. I'm hoping you guys can still hear me. I hope my mic's still plugged in properly. You all move, so I'm guessing, yeah. Then sit your right sit bone down, or maybe up onto a block if you want to make this easier or more accessible. Sit onto a block, don't be shy, or a book, or whatever you've got. And then see if you can helicopter your left leg all the way around until it eventually passes your right knee. And you're in this sort of what's called half kingfish pose. Your right leg's on the floor, your left knee's lifted. And then lift your right hand up into the sky so you can lengthen through your spine, and take your left fingertips and touch the floor if you can behind you and draw your left shoulder back. Take a breath in here, and as you exhale, place your right elbow on top of your left knee and keep your spine long and neutral. Please don't look at the floor, don't drop your head. Keep your spine long and neutral, and then use an exhale. So as you breathe out, you soften the muscles, and rotate your left shoulder towards the back of your mat. So coming into this beautiful twist. It's almost as if you imagine wringing out an old rag that you've been washing the ceiling with, or washing the walls with, and you put it back in the water and you wring it out and it squeezes out all the dirty water. It's a bit like that now. You're wringing out your torso and squeezing out all the excess juices and toxins. And then when we release the stretch, we absorb and reabsorb fresh cellular juices. Good. Try not to look at the floor. Keep your eyes gazed a little higher. Nice. And then exhale, come all the way through 180 degrees. So left shoulder forward, right shoulder back, just as a counter stretch. Come back to the front and see if you can gather your knees together. Now, I'm particularly stiff in this particular posture, but I do the best I can. I ask you to do the same. Maybe you put a block. I'm going to grab a block. I happen to have one here, or anything you've got, like a book, whatever, and go underneath your hips. Just makes this a little bit more accessible. I'm going to take that magic journey into piriformis, that tough to stretch little muscle at the back of the hips. Good. Now you can lift your heart a little higher. If you wish to, you can take reverse namaste or a modification of reverse namaste if you want to open up through your chest space, if you have that available range. I don't. So I'm just going to leave my hands on the floor and exhale to move my chest forward and take the stretch around the outer left thigh, the secondary stretch in the outer right thigh. Just going to move around a little bit so I stay in shot. It's a difference using this technology. I always have to remember what you can see and then try and fish out what I can see about you. It's not the same as having you here. It really isn't. I don't mind saying that I really miss seeing your faces in this space and seeing your practice in this space. But we'll get back to a new norm soon, I hope. If things ever get back to the way they were, I'll be surprised, but something will be vaguely familiar. As you breathe and soften deeper into your pose and let the stretch move through the outer left thigh, all the way around the back of your glutes, into the back of your left hip. Any modification you like of this. You may have straightened out your right leg to make this slightly more accessible, or put your hips on a block to make it slightly more accessible, or maybe you don't come as deep. Remember, it's about where your body says, yes, that's the right place for me to be today. Don't need to push it, just need to feel it. Good, one more long breath in. Your exhale can soften you as deep as you like into this pose. And then when you're ready, just unpretzel yourself again, nice and slow, don't rush it. If you rush it, the chi energy that gathers in the posture can be a little bit uncomfortable. You can let this disperse gently and come into another downward facing dog.
This time, inhale your left leg to the sky, reach it up, stretch it out. The more you engage in this pose, by the way, the more you kind of reset the muscles. If you'd like to stay soft and relaxed, that's okay too. Exhale, draw your left knee into your chest and step your left foot forward. And soften your right knee onto the ground, open up through your hips. Feel your breath, the cadence, the natural cadence in your slow, conscious breath. And then reach your left hand forward. Let the breath leave your body completely. And then inhale, sweep your left hand all the way around. You'll notice I've changed orientation again. You don't need to. I'm just doing this to keep it visual because of the camera stuff going on. I'm going to modify this time. I'm not going to bend my right knee. I'm not going to get a hold of my right foot. I can do, but I just need to demonstrate to you that it's not important. What's important is you lift your left shoulder and drop your right hip and open up through twisted thigh stretch. So you're fairly neutral around your spine, right? But you're opening around the spine and opening through the right hip and lifting up through the left chest. The heart can lift. A nice stretch through the inner left thigh. And then bring your left hand all the way back towards the front. And we'll start setting up for half pigeon on the other side. So if you took a modification before and you want to take it again this time, please, please, please do. You'll lie on your back and bend your right knee and place your left ankle on your right knee. If you're coming with me into a half pigeon, Ekapada, Raja, Kapotasana, just walk your left foot towards your, we'll do it without the Raja, without the Royal. We'll just do half pigeon. And left knee behind the left wrist, and then maybe you inhale your hands towards the sky. It's so optional. It's more important that you listen to your body and see what it's saying to you rather than struggle into that hand lift. And then exhale, walk your hands forward. If you're taking the modification, maybe you gather your right thigh a little closer in towards your body using your hands around the back of your right thigh or your right shin if you're modifying. Otherwise, soften your forehead down towards the ground and allow your heart to melt even closer to the earth. Just imagine if there was a little channel of energy from your heart to the floor underneath you. Almost like you could open a little door in your heart and just let the light pour into the earth and let some of the earth's energy wash straight back up into your heart, giving it some clarity and some neutral balance. Otherwise, if you're just lying on the floor in the stretch and feeling it through your left glute, awesome. As long as you're present right here, right now in your practice, plenty of time for everything else after Shavasana. Couple more breaths here. See if you can send your awareness deeper into your body and listen to everything it says. Can you look after your body? Can you look after the tissues in your physiology? Beyond that magic statement, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. Of course you will. But what can you do to help? When you're ready, start to come on out. And if you're in a modification, maybe you'll come into a cross-legged position and press your sit bone onto the ground. I'm going to use a block on this side as well. It's handy, so it makes it easier. Why not? And see if you can helicopter your right leg all the way around, big circles. And when you get into this pose, see if you can push the sole of your right foot down. It's like you can stand on it. Good. And then lift your left hand up towards the sky. I really hope you can all still hear me. I'll check in a minute. If you can't, do something. If you can't hear me, then you can't respond. Can you? Send your right fingertips behind your right hip. Good. Inhale and exhale to draw the left elbow across the right knee and rotate your right shoulder back. We're taking that transverse plane twist. So we're rotating around a neutral spine. So you'll lift the crown of your head and draw your chin in. Make sure you don't look at the floor. If you look at the floor, you'll come through the sagittal plane. We don't want that for this twist. We like to do the twists in the transverse plane. So we rotate in a healthy direction around the neutral spine. We don't compress into the spine by coming to the sagittal plane. That's very, very advanced to do that. You see some yogis do that on YouTube. I don't recommend you try it. Keep it safe and keep it simple. Modify all of your practice
So you can hear your body tell you it's okay. One more breath in here as you twist, empty out those old juices. Nice, and then gently rotate through 180 degrees. So you rotate your left shoulder back and just take a counter twist. Nice. And come back to center and see if you can start to gather up your knees. As I say, I'm not very good at this myself. Years of doing other things make me stiff in my chest and my legs, but I do the best I can and I get the most that I can from my practice. That's all any of us want, really, right? Yeah. And gently, either you can take reverse namaste or grab your forearms behind your back or open up through your chest, or maybe as I do, just modify completely and walk your fingertips forwards as you inhale and draw your heart up through your throat and then draw your chest towards your inner thigh as far as you come, as far as you wish to, as far as feels good to. We're taking that stretch, don't forget, it's the outer right thigh that we're targeting. So it should come all the way around your outer right thigh and through the back of your right glutes, the interpiriformis, that tough muscle. You'll feel it in your left thigh as well. It's not, it's not as if any stretch can only stretch one part of the body, right? All these stretches, pretty much compound stretches, everything works together. Probably notice this if you ever injure something in your body, even a tiny paper cut on your little left finger can hurt everything else. It's because there's a big network and a tiny part of it isn't working or is damaged. The rest of it compensates. We're not a machine. On a car, you can unbolt the door and leave it at home and still drive around, right? Because the rest of the car functions fairly normally without it. You cannot do that with a human body. We need everything. There are no expendable parts. It's all one big, beautiful, synchronized machine. So we need to look after and respect the whole of the machine as a whole, being greater than the sum of its parts. So wherever you feel this stretch, let it go and let it work. Good, one more breath in and stay for the exhale that softens. Yeah. And then inhale, come on up. We're going to take one last wide-legged seated pose. So there's lots of support from the ground. And then we'll come to lie on our backs and take a supine twist to open up through the outer hips. So come to a comfortable, don't overdo it, wide-legged seated pose. And push your sit bones down and lift your crown of your head a little higher, draw your belly in slightly. And take your toes and see if you can suck them in towards your hips so you're strong through the back line of your legs. Good, we're going to stretch through the inner thigh here. So take a breath in as you exhale. Walk your belly down towards the ground. Maybe your hands can walk out in front of you. Maybe you're sitting here like this, barely able to touch the ground. Don't worry about it. If that's where you are, just come to that place where you can feel the stretch. Don't fight to go deeper. There is no point. If I come to my personal edge, where is it? My personal edge for this particular pose isn't here. It happens to be somewhere like this. And if I come to here, if I push too hard, I'll injure myself. Why would I want to do that? So wherever you come to, sit with the edge. I'm going to modify today. I'm just going to bring it to here. And feel the stretch. Toes come in, heart less forwards. You see, even here, I can feel this stretch working for me. I don't have to try and make it look good. I just want to make it feel right. Only you know that. No one watching you can tell how it feels in your body. Only you can, right? Let that be what counts. Long breath in through the nose. Long breath out. And then gently come on up. Release yourself from this pose and get ready to lie onto the ground. So just draw your leg in. Bring your legs out in front of you. Give them a little shake. Wake them up again. Draw the toes in, lengthen through the back of the knees. And then bend your knees slightly and we'll slowly come to the ground. How slowly you come is entirely up to you, right? We're just activating through the core before we relax. So reach your hands forward. You can hold on to the back of your thighs if you like. Just check my wires aren't getting tangled.
And then gently exhale to slowly lower your torso down onto the ground. You can keep those shoulder blades floating for a little longer if you wish. Palms can face up. So you're really working through the core until gently, slowly, softly, those shoulder blades touch the ground. And when they do, exhale to draw your knees into your chest one by one. Have a little wiggle, whatever wiggle feels right. I like to wind my knees around in a circle and massage the hips, but you can do whatever you like, right? Maybe you want to press your heels towards the sky. Maybe you want to widen your legs, whatever. Just listen to your body, a bit of freestyle. And then we'll take a supine twist. Now, the one I like to use, I'll talk you through, but if you prefer another one, use that. I like to place one leg on the ground. Start with my left leg. Left leg is straight. Right knee is bent. Left hand can cover the right knee. Right arm reaches wide, super, super wide. And then the exhale tells the body to relax as we draw the right knee across the chest and come into a supine twist. Now, your variation may look and feel different to this one, but if it feels right in your body and you're lying on the ground and getting a nice stretch through one side of your body, then well done. Let go. Feel your exhale. Slow it down. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background, but a lady is singing the words, take your passion and make it happen. What is it that your heart whispers to you? And then gently switch to the other side. Nice and slow. Whichever variation you took, just mirror the other side. Open up through the outer thigh, outer side of your torso. Remember that little deal we did at the beginning of the practice, that you would see your practice all the way through to your Shavasana and then gift yourself with as much Shavasana as you wish to. After all, what is it that you think you're rushing off to? Your body needs your compassion, right? And give it a little extra. When you're ready, use your breath. We'll come into Shavasana. We'll do a couple of breaths together. And then I'm going to invite you to choose how long you stay in Shavasana. So relax both your legs on the ground. And widen your ankles, flop your feet outwards. Consciously flop your feet out so you release through the inner thighs. And then rest your arms on the ground, that connection with gravity holding them down, and your palms can face upwards. The palms face upwards in surrender to the flow of the universe. After all, why would we fight that? And we'll take some breaths together, slowing down, using a 4-6 breath. So we're going to breathe out for 6. It's a bit of a longer exhale. It means that the body gets a stronger message to relax, and we'll breathe together for 4 rounds, and then I'm going to leave you to marinate in your own Shavasana. So let the breath leave your body naturally. And inhale with me for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Use your nose. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale all the way through the nose. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue to breathe naturally through your nose. Let go.